Introducing Purple.
Do a quick run on what we did yesterday. Just a quick summary on everything we were able to cover yesterday, and we'll move on from there. Okay, so yesterday we talked about HTML. We started, from the basic concept of HTML, and so it's interesting to know that HTML has different versions and is regulated by body. So, and one of the reasons why you're having the versions from HTML 1, 2, 3, I think currently we are working with HTML 5, and it's just, of course, just like every system, there has to be an upgrade to every system. So there's always an upgrade to some of the tags that are used and everything. So some tags become obsolete. So in HTML5, of course, there are new tags that were introduced and all. So you can read more about that. So like I said, my style is more or less let's do, and as we do, we know more. You understand? So because that's really the basics of coding. You should do more, and as you do, you continue to know. So the basic structure, HTML is a standard markup language for web pages. So what that means is there is nothing you want to display on a web page without HTML. Nothing. You want to display anything, no matter the language you want to use, whether you're using PHP or you're using Python with Django, you're using, Node.js, Vue, anything. If you don't have HTML on your web page, you're not going to output anything. So HTML is what helps you to be able to output content on your web page. So there is a basic structure to an HTML page. There's a basic structure to that, and just give me a minute. Let me pull up the picture. So this picture here shows the basic structure to an HTML page. We have the HTML tag, the opening and the closing tag, and in between that we have the head tag and the body tag. So this is a basic structure of an HTML page, a web page. So in the head tag, you'll notice you have the title tag. So in the head tag, that's where you have the title of the page. So usually if you go to any Google website, just like the one we have now, the title of this page is written boldly here. You see meet and then the code to join the group and the link. You understand? So that's where you have your title. And then there are other things you can put in the title. You can also put your style. You can put your links depending on whatever it is you're working with. Maybe your Bootstrap link, your link to connect your external CSS file, your link to connect your external JavaScript file, anything link, And the idea of putting the link in the head section is, like I said yesterday, is to ensure that those links are first, run before, I've forgotten the word now, but there's a way HTML works. It works from whatever you put first is what it starts running, and it runs down like that. So that's why the way you arrange your content in your HTML is the way it's going to display. But however, you can change the position using positioning. You can change the position of whatever content you want. But the way you really arrange it is the way it's just going to further display on your page. So we further talked about the content of the body. So in your body is where the content of the web page is displayed. So everything you want to display, from your navigation bar to the sections you have to the footer, everything is displayed in your body, and they are displayed with the help of tags. They're displayed with the help of tags. All right. So and they are displayed with the help of tags. And so we have different kind of tags that helps us to display content on the web page. Different kind of tags. So the first tag we looked at was the header tag. That's the H1. We actually checked from H1 to H6. That's the range that HTML provides for the header tag. So of course, if you have HTML 6 or 7, you can have they can revise it and come up with a new method of displaying headers. So one of the reasons why you have the header tag and you have different sizes, just so that you can choose between, however you want to display it in terms of the size of your fonts and everything. So this is the way the header is supposed to look like. Okay, just let me open, index. Okay, so ordinarily, when you use the header tag, it's going to be automatically bold because it is a header. Do you understand? It's going to be automatically bold. So the difference between H1, H2, H3, H4, and H5 and H6 is just the font size. The font size, and so they reduce in that ascending order. So from H1 to H2, H1 is bigger than H2. H2 is bigger than H3, and so that was what we were able to work with yesterday. You might not be able to see it like this because we've done some other styling on this one. So then we move to the paragraph tag. The paragraph tag that's using P. It's denoted with the P tag. So it's just basically to output content. It has no P1 or P2, and this is the paragraph here in red. So you can see we did not do, I think we tweaked the size a little bit, so that's why it's looking bigger. So this is the paragraph tab. It is not bold, it's just in paragraph. Now, however, if you echo something in paragraph tab, if you display something in paragraph tab and you want to make it bold, you can use your CSS to make it bold. You understand? So you can always do that. Then we also have the anchor tag. We have the anchor tag. The anchor tag is basically a tag that is used to display a link. And we further stress that what makes the anchor tag an anchor tag is the href attribute. This guy here, this href guy here. If this guy is not here, what you're going to be seeing on your screen is just a basic text. So when I refresh this page, for instance, you notice that it is no longer a link. You can no longer click it. You understand? It's just like a basic text, just like something you're outputting like a paragraph. So what makes it an anchor tag is the href attribute that you add to it. So which led us to talk about attributes. Attributes in HTML. So the concept of attributes in HTML is basically to provide additional information about elements. So an element is what? Is just is an HTML content that it contains just the opening tag, the closing tag, and the content. So here, for instance, this what I marked here now, H1. This is the first heading, and so here you have the opening tag, here you have the closing tag, and here you have the content. Everything all together is called an HTML element. Are we together? So everything together is called an HTML element. So from there on, so that's how from there you now have to give it an attribute. So attributes just provides more information about the HTML element. Like I said, the element is the opening tag, the content, and the closing tag. So there's a format in which the attribute is displayed. Attributes for every HTML tag will always come in value in a name and value pair. And what I mean is there is always a name and there is always a value. Now the value can be nested values, as we will see now, but there is always a principal name and value. In Node.js, it's called a key value pair. You understand? That's what it's called. So anytime you try to use an attribute anywhere, there is always a name and there's always a value. Now the syntax might be different. In some cases, it might just be equal to. In another case, it might be a curly brace. You understand? In another case, it might just be a bracket, but there's always a name and a value. So in this case now, the attribute here is href, and href is a hyperlink reference. So which sets the location. You know, when you click on a link, what you're really saying is, when I click on this, I want you to take me to another page. to perform an action. So perform an action by taking me to another page. So that's what it really means. So here, the location we have put here is, http www.google.com. So what that means is when I click this link, it's supposed to direct me to google.com. It's supposed to take me there, just as I've shown you now. So if for some reason you remove this http, if you're working with pages that are external, that are not in your project, you have to put the protocol, which is the http. Otherwise, when I put just www.google.com, it's going to tell me, it's going to give me an error. So let's try it out. You see your file could not be accessed because it thinks www.google.com is resident on my system. So if you notice, you will see the file path here. You're seeing C users, still seeing desktop and everything. You understand? So it thinks it's on my system. So you are supposed to give it the internet protocol so that it's going to check on the web, the World Wide Web, for this web page. Do we understand now? So that's how the href works. So at every point in time, anytime you're using the href, whether you're using it with you're using it with an image or anything, you must make sure that the path is correctly spelled out. So this is another attribute here, the same format, key and what's it called? Key and name and value. Name and value. I don't want to use key because that's when we're talking about JavaScript. Name and value. So the name here is src. This tag, first of all, is the img tag, which is used to display an image, which is the image we have here. This structure here, that's the image. So you use the img tag to display an image on a web page, on an HTML web page, and we specify the name of the image we want to display. So of course, it's not just enough to just put the img tag there. You have to specify that, okay, you have to specify the path. This is the name of the page. Now, if the image is inside the file, you have to put the file folder name / the image name. We will experiment that. So there are other attributes that you can put with the image tag. You will set the width and the height just so that it is not too big. You understand? Because the original pixels of the picture is quite big. So we can actually reduce it by setting the width and the height, using it as an attribute. Okay, so yes, so the last thing we talked about was the styling. We talked about styling, and then we established that there are 3 different HTML styles. There are 3 different styling, which is the inline styling, internal styling, and external. So for inline styling, you do the styling in the same line with the HTML tag. That's inline styling. You do it in the same line with the HTML tag. So an example is this. So in this case now, you see that the styling is coming in as an attribute here. So another point you should know is attributes are always done in the opening tag of an HTML element. The opening tag, not the closing tag, not in the content, the opening tag. So this styling here is coming as an attribute. And then if you notice, there is a name here called style equals to, so everything is inside quote. Now you still have something that looks like a name and a value here, because the name here is color and the value is the RGB color. You understand? So here now, what you will call this is more like a nested name and value pair. So because you have name and value, and then in the value part you still have another name and value. So it's a nested name and value. So that's inline. So you can always do anything you want there. You can put a color, you can put a width, you can put a font size, you can put whatever it is you want to do to affect your content. Then the internal styling is what we did here. You go to the header section. Like I said before, you can also put your styling in the header section. So you go to the header section and then you put the style. You have your style tag. You open your style tag and close it here. Then in between the style, you can pick whatever it is you want and style. You can pick whatever it is you want and style. That is internal styling. Then the last one is the external. The external is very simple. The difference is all you need to do is just pick this, carry this style, open a new document entirely, paste it there, save it as styles.css because it is a CSS file, not an HTML file. CSS means cascading style sheet. We're going to learn that in a bit. So it's a CSS file. You save it there and then you link it to your HTML page. So that way your code is modular. That way you're practicing what we call modular programming. You know, you don't have every of your codes in one place. You have different modules, and you link them all together. That's one of the best practices as a web developer. You have modular programming. So the last thing I want to talk about for this summary is we talked about using classes and ID, which is also another form of attributes. Another attribute, classes and ID, and they help us to be able to pick content and manipulate basically. So for instance, you see here we gave this particular header, this second heading, we gave it a class of second heading. So it means that we can pick this class and do whatever we want with the content here. This is the content. With the content, this is the second heading. So that's what we did. And then we came here inside the styling, because what we used yesterday was internal styling. Imagine if we had to type this code in the HTML line, you know, it would be very, very, I don't know, cumbersome, and it will not be neat, you know. So we practice internal styling or external styling. So we picked the class, and this is where you pick a class. A class, you pick the class by using the dot or a full stop, as you would like. You use a full stop and then you put the class name as we indicated here. So if you're using a different class name, a wrong class name from this place, then you should know that whatever it is you're trying to do to the content will not work. Do you understand? So you must make sure that whatever name you put here is what is here. So if you're trying to do a styling and you do it and it's not working, check your class name very well. You understand? If it is wrong, it will not work. So we can do different things, that several things we talked about yesterday. Text decoration, we can make the font weight bolder, so which is what we did with the second heading. So if you check here, we're going to see that the second heading, there's a line through, there's a line crossing it, which is this text decoration line through. So there are other options for the text decoration, of course. We will go into that today, and I'm just doing a summary. So there are other types of attributes. There is also the ID. The ID. So when you use the ID, the way you pick the ID is different from the class. When you use the ID, you give it a name. This is a name and this is value. So the value of this ID here is stored heading. Now, like I said, you always name your classes and your ID in a name that is very, very similar, or that, you know, has a semantic meaning with what you're trying to design, whatever content you're trying to design, so that you will not be confused. Because you get to a point where your code is so much and you don't know what this one is doing, what this line is doing. But if you're giving it a name that is related to what it's doing, then you'll be able to really know how to, you know, debug your code. So here you pick the ID using the hashtag third heading, and you can style it different way. We changed the font family and then we gave it text align center. Now it worked perfectly. The text align center. Now there was something else we discovered yesterday. If you try to use the text align center for a multi-line statement, it doesn't really work, which is the second project we did. Yeah, so this is the second project we did yesterday, the second thing. So we tried to use a text align center here and it did not work. And that's because this is multi-line. So it worked here, but it did not work here. We did text here. So what will make this come to the center is if we apply the div to it and then we'll put a margin auto. I think we're able to put it in center eventually. We'll use the margin auto to put it in center. So today, let me just show you the project, this particular project we worked on yesterday, and then I will let us know what we have to undo today. So we were able to do a tribute page yesterday to Nelson Mandela, and this is the name. You have the year here, and then so if you notice, you have a quote here. This is done with the help of this tag called Q. So this Q automatically puts the quote there. Now when you try to style this Q, everything in the quote will be styled. Everything in the quote will be styled. We tried it yesterday, and that was what happened. So it's very important that you know how to pick whatever it is you want to style correctly. And we also put an image of Nelson Mandela, and we made it full width, because if you notice, the image here is not full width, right? But here the image is full width. So what we did was, after picking, we picked the image tag here, the image tag. You can also pick the tags directly. You can pick any of the tags, whether it's paragraph tag, H1 tag. Instead of giving in a class and an ID, you can pick the tag and style. But you know, there are some, how would I put it now? For instance, there are some attributes that don't work with some tags. For instance, you know, you can put color on a text, right? You know, you can change the color of a text. Can I get a response? You can change the color of a text, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, but you can't change the color. You can't use the same attribute. For instance, now the way we did color here, white, you can't use the same color for an IMG tag, because it means that you want to just change the color of the picture. It doesn't, that's not the way to go about it. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is, some properties go with some attributes, you know, while some properties don't go with some attributes. So you need to know what you want to do with whatever attributes you have picked, whatever tag you want to pick and style. So very, very important. So what we did here to make it full width was minimum width of 100%. Now there's also maximum width, and we're going to see how that works. All right, so I think that was all for yesterday. So we're going to be starting a new. So if you're ready, today we're going to be trying to cover a whole lot in 3 hours. Okay, so because this class is supposed to end by 12. So we're going to be talking about HTML forms. We're going to be talking about CSS positioning. I'm going to be talking about HTML tables, HTML lists, and we want to try to understand more about block level elements and inline elements and how they work. And I hope we have enough time to do everything. So if you're ready, let's fire on. Open a new document. You can just click on Ctrl N. You can just type Ctrl N. Open a new document and save. Yesterday we created a folder on our desktop called PurpleDev. So if you're just joining us today, you can do the same. Create a folder on your desktop called PurpleDev, and then navigate to the folder. When you open the new file from your VS Code, you do Ctrl S, and then you navigate to the folder on your desktop so that you can save. So today we are going to call this second class, and then you use camel casing. So camel casing is a standard in web development. It's a standard in web development, and what it means is the first letter of whatever it is you want to name is going to be in small caps, while whatever word you're joining with it, the first letter of the second word you're joining with it is going to be in big caps. You understand? So that's camel casing. That's a convention in web development, I think, in basically JavaScript, but it's something that most developers use in every language. All right, so let's type our structure. I showed us a little shortcut yesterday on HTML, so that you don't have to start typing all the head and the title and everything. All you need to do, if you are using a VS Code, so just put the exclamation mark and then click on enter. It's going to work perfectly. Are we together? Guys, are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, all right. Just a minute. All right. Okay. So the title of our class today is a second class. So you change the title to second class, and then we are off, ready to go. So let's start with HTML list. HTML list. So we're going to understand how we want to create a list. Sometimes you want to create a list of items or objects. Probably a to-do list, or just you want to list names of places or things. How do we do that? The first thing is there is a tag that works for it, and in HTML we have ordered list and unordered list. So let's start with the ordered list. The ordered list, before for you to start, you put your angle brackets OL. OL means ordered list. Ordered list. Are we together? So in your ordered list, there's what we call LI. The LI element represents a list item. If its parent element is an OL, UL, or menu element, then the element in an item of the parent elements list as defined for those elements. Otherwise, the list item has no defined list related relationship. Okay, anyway, so the LI is just used to denote each of the items, So you must trap whatever item you want to display in an LI. Are we together? So let's type this.
Yes.
And then, so let's create a list let's give it a heading, or list of cars. Let's give the heading H1, list of cars, and then, so list of car names, right? Let's do car names. So someone should suggest, give us. I'm not really into cars like that, so I only know Honda. Okay, Honda. All right. So you
Toyota.
go down, still in the OL. You go down, do the Toyota. All right. What else?
Acura.
Is there still Acura?
Yes, no.
Okay. All right. What else? Huh?
Nissan.
Nissan. Okay.
Lexus.
It's like this one is your favorite, Abby. The way you pronounced it like that. All right.
Mazda.
Just one more. All right. Mazda.
Williams.
Benz.
Okay. Benz, Abby.
Yes.
This list is not complete without Benz.
That's the premium brand now.
Yes, premium brand. Okay, so let's try to open this page and see how it looks. Yeah, Control O. So you can immediately click on Control O, or you can just go to your desktop and open from there. I thought I saved mine here. I can't see my own file. Where did I save it? Okay. Alright. I think I saved it in the wrong place. Let me save again. Okay. Alright. Alright. I saved it in the wrong place. Alright, second class. Alright, so we see, and if you notice something, there is a number attached to it and it's auto incremented. So this is part of what HTML helps you to do when you use the OL. Alright? When you use the OL, so because it is ordered, so it's going to give you an order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you can also use an unordered list, So this one is going to certainly be different. Let's give it a heading H1. All right. So what should we display this time? List of football.
Or fruits. But let's use fruits.
Fruits, Abi?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
List of fruits. Okay, let's go. So for this one, we are working with UL, and let's see how UL will display, right? So LI. I hope I'm not too fast. If I'm too fast, please let me know so that I can slow down a little bit. All right. So LI fruits, purple.
Yeah.
It's not my best though, but I don't know why it came first.
Mango.
Mango, yes, mango. With what else?
Banana.
Banana.
Watermelon.
Watermelon. Okay.
Pineapple.
Okay. Okay. Pineapple. Okay.
Orange.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think we have 6 now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's preview this. So you notice that everything is always in the LI and it is wrapped in the UL. So when you check this, what's going on? It's not showing. Is it showing there? I can't see anything here.
Yeah, mine is showing.
Okay, so what's happening with my system?
Share.
Okay. Okay, I know why. Just give me a minute. Let me move it out. All right. Okay, yeah, list of fruits. So you see you have purple, you have mango, you have banana, and so you notice this one is having a bullet, right? It's having a bullet.
Yeah.
So now there is, when you see this, what already comes to your mind? Navigation bar, right? This is almost like the way you have your navigation bars. You have your horizontal navigation, you have your vertical navigation. So let's try to do the navigation and then see. So let's see. So we want to do a navigation, and you notice that when I mean by navigation is usually not ordered, right? What you just have is your home, about us, contact us, product, services, right? Okay, it's not usually not ordered. So we're going to be using the UL. We're going to be using the UL. All right. So in the UL, we have the LI and we have the home, right? So we have about us. So when we learn Bootstrap, we're going to learn how to easily do this. Bootstrap helps you to easily do this and not stress yourself so much with a lot of the styling and how to remove and everything. All right. So about us, services, LI, services. Okay. LI. What else?
Contact us.
Contact us. Yes. Contact us. All right. Last one. Help, right? Or FAQ?
Yeah, FAQ. Frequently asked questions.
Okay. FAQs. All right. So when you display this, you notice that it shows like your normal menu, right? It shows like your normal menu. Now, the next thing is sometimes you have your navigation in a horizontal form. This is a vertical form, which is perfectly okay in a horizontal form. So first of all, let's see how we can, because sometimes, most times, not even sometimes, most times you don't have this decoration, that bullet beside it. So how can we remove that? Let's still work with internal CSS for now. Let's still work with internal CSS, and I'll show us external CSS later. So go to your header section and open your style tag. Let's do a little bit of styling now. Are we there? Oh, all right. So open your style tag, and now, so because we want to style this, let me bring it up because I don't like the way I'm just scrolling through. Let's bring it up so that it will be at the top of our, page. Top of the page. Let me bring it up. So you can format by, you highlight and then use your tab to switch. All right, to shift it rather. Okay, so you go inside your style, go inside your style tag, and let's start styling it. Now, so we want to pick this content. How do you think we should pick the content? Should we give it a class or an ID, or we should just pick the UL?
Let's give it a class.
Let's give it a class, have you?
Yep.
Okay, so let's give the UL a class. A class, right? A class of what? Navigation. Navbar, right?
Yep.
All right. So now, when you give it a class of navbar, you pick the class using the dots, full stop. Using the dots, please, like I said, if I am too fast, just bring me back. If I do something that you don't understand, just bring me back, let me explain to you. So you use the curly brace, this one. You see it on your keyboard. You use the curly brace. So everything you type within the curly brace will now be key and value, name and value, name and value. You understand? So the first thing we want to do is let's display, let's see if it will work. Let's display inline block. Now, inline means that everything will be beside each other, right? Inline means everything will be beside each other. Block means nothing, no element will be on the same line with each other. So the way it is like this, you have written it like this. It's because they are block level elements. They are block level elements. We're still going to talk about that later. So let me just quickly give you a recap on that. A block level element means that nothing must be on my side. I want to be the only person occupying the full width, right? So that's what a block level element means. So that's why you have purple, and then on the other line you have mango. Do you understand? So there are certain element tags that are block level, there are tags that are inline. So in this case, these ones are block level. So for you to change it to inline such that we want home, let me refresh it. We want home about us, services and contact us to be on the same side. We have to change the way it is displayed. Are we together? All right.
Yes.
So you noticed something. The decoration has already gone. The decoration has gone. Let me refresh it again. So the minute I put the display inline, it automatically removes that bullet that we have there. So I want it to be display inline block. And a block box which itself is flowed as a single inline block, similar to a replacement element. The inside of an inline block is formatted as a block box, and the box itself is formatted as an inline. How do I explain this in English now? It's like you want to put everything you have inside the block. Do you understand? Inside the block. Then you now make the block display on a straight line, technically. So let's see how it works. Let's see how it works. Okay. Okay, I think we are applying it to the wrong item. First of all, let's. I think this class should be on the. All right, let's continue. So first of all, let's remove the text decoration. Give it to none. All right. Am I in the same class? Okay. All right. Okay, give me a minute. Let me check something. So you have li. All right. So we can apply that property to the UL. We have to apply it directly to the content. Are we getting me? So you have to apply it directly to the content. So when you pick the li, you can apply it directly to it. So, but now if you notice, like I said yesterday, the minute we pick the li, you notice that every other item also became inline, right? So, which is why I said when you pick the tags like this using a parent tag, li, it will affect every other thing. These are called parent tags. You know, it affects every other thing and parent selector that is with li. So, how can we do it? What do we do? Let's give this a class or an ID. Let's give it an ID or navbar. So let's give this an ID of navbar. There are several ways to do this, like I said. There are several ways to do this. This is one way. We're still going to learn some other ways of making this easier. One of your, how would I put it, your primary goal as a developer is to type less code. So what I'm typing now is too much code. But sometimes it's needed at the beginning stage. It's too much code. We're typing too much code. There are easier ways of doing this to make it less. So now, when I change this to navbar, you know, we're using ID, right? So I have to use the hashtag navbar. So when I do this, you'll notice that it affects only our, what's it called? Our menu up. Can we see that? Are we together? Okay, so it affects only our menu up. Now, the next thing we want to do is, if you notice it's too jam-packed, right? So let's give it a space. Let's give it a space. And I explained yesterday the difference between padding and margin. Padding is the distance between the content and the container, right? The content and the container. And then margin is the distance between the container and the body. Are we together? Are we together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes, so
padding is the difference between what? The content and the container. So as you're seeing this now, there's an invisible container around it. Do you understand? You are going to see the container very soon. So padding is the difference between the distance between the content and the container. And then margin is the distance between the container and the body of the HTML itself. All right. So let's give it a padding because we want space in between home and about us, services, contact us, and the rest. We want space there. So let's give it a padding. Let's give it a padding of 3%. And see. All right. Is this looking nice now? This is looking better, right? Now, so the next thing is, should we leave it here or should we move it to the center or move it to the right? What do you think? Guys, what should we do to this? Should we leave it on the left here or move it to the right or move it to the center?
Center will be okay.
Center will be okay. All right. So now let's see if we can apply text align center here. It should work. Okay, I forgot. It will work, right? Okay. All right. So center text align center is not working. I didn't remove this. Let me see. All right. So text align center will not work here because we are supposed to pick the UL itself, not the li, right? So let's pick the UL. In this case now, let's give it a class of nav list, right? Let's give it a class of nav list, and then let's say dot nav list. So usually, if you want to put something in center, you can use your margin, you can use your text align. Let's use text align center. If this doesn't work, okay. So do you see the concept now? Are we together? So you use your text align center for the UL. You know the UL is like a container for everything, right? The UL is like a container for everything. So it picks the whole of the home, about us, contact us, and then it puts it in the center. So we can also, there are also other options to this text align. There is end, there is justify, but this works more with text, not navigation. Do we understand? All right, so there's still something else we can do to this. Let's give it a background color, right? Let's give it a background color, and we can give it a background color of somebody pick a color, or should I pick a color here? All right. I don't know why everything is always shouting blue, blue, blue. All right, you can give it a background color of dark magenta, right? And let's see how it is. Now, there's something I want to show you when we do that. So when you do this, you see the way it is, right? See the way it is. It's purple. But now, can you see the home, about us, services? Can you see it very well? Is it clear?
Yeah, but I feel we need to change the color to white now.
Okay.
Yes, to white.
It's not clear.
Good. Okay, so let's give a color. Now, I explained yesterday there's a difference between color and background color, right? So what color we do is to pick the content and change the color of the content. Background color will just go to the background. It doesn't affect the content. Are we together? So very important. So that you will not be looking for font color. That's why I'm saying that. So this should work. All right. Now, I think we're having a very beautiful nav bar right here, right? Okay, so the next thing is what else can we do? You've been to some websites where you try to hover over the list, right?
Yeah.
And it shows the cursor is changing. The color, how will I put it now? The symbol of the cursor changes to a hand, right? Something like you can select. So let's try to do more. Now there is a property called hover. Hover just means let me see the English that. So this is the way you use the property hover. Hover. Now. All right. Hover just means it's just like the way a bird hovers over something, just move around something. So when you do your mouse like this, it means you are hovering. Are we together? That's the meaning of that English there. So it's not very deep like that. All right. So what we want to do here is we want to set the attributes of this navigation bar, right? So we want to say when we hover over this, what should happen, right? Are we together? So
Yes, sir.
now we can set the background color, right? We can set the background color. So I want to try it over the nav list first before I try it over the nav bar. Let's see how it works. So now I want to set the background color to white when I hover. Are we together?
Yeah.
So let's type. I think I'm beginning to be a little bit too fast. All right. If you're ready, just let me know.
All right.
Okay. So can I move my screen now so that we see? So if you're done, check your screen and let me know what is there. Check your screen. Let me know what is there. Okay. So do you see what is happening? Everything is turning white, right? Are we together?
Yeah.
And which
Yes.
is not what we want. We want to over the home, right? Not just the whole list. So let's change. Let's use a different selector. It is better we use the nav bar instead of the nav list, right? So let's use the nav bar. Change that nav list to nav bar. Change the nav list to nav bar. All right. And then preview again. All right. Okay. Don't worry, I know why it's not working. It wants me to touch something called delete now. All right. All right. Okay. 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 Do you know why it's not working? Can somebody tell me why it's not working? I'll give you something very small if you can discover why.
It is because the class we are using is ID.
Okay.
You are getting.
Okay.
Yeah, so and you are using this thing for the class of.
Can you reframe your answer well? Frame it well.
Okay. We are using class.
Okay.
We are using class there instead of ID. It should be
Good.
hash,
Good.
not.
Good. Okay. So the selector we picked was a class selector. That's .navbar. But what we created in our list is what? An ID. So that's why it's not seeing it. So let's try to change to hashtag. Are we together, guys? All right. So save and check. Let's see if this will work. All right. So it's working. It's working, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But if you notice, the color is not changing, right? The color of the text is not changing.
Yes.
So this is what we can do. So it means that we have set the background color to be white. So what we can now do now is to set the color to be what? Black. So that when we hover, when the background color changes to white, the color of the text changes to black. It's just to add a little effect. Somebody will be like, are we not just going back to where we started from? Not really. You know, sometimes some of these effects help the mood of your users. Do you understand? When they see it, they'll be like, oh, that's nice. Nice skills, you know. So, do you see that? Do you see that? So, we have our navigation bar set. Are we together? But there's one other thing. There's one other thing. Now, if you notice, this our navigation bar is just there. We can't click it, right? We can't click it. We need to make it a link. We need to make it a link. So that's where we are not going to use the anchor tag. We're not going to use the anchor tag. So we need to wrap everything in an anchor tag. And how do we do that? You do your A, enter. Now you have the anchor tag. So in between the opening and the closing tag, you cut and paste your li. Cut and paste your li. Let's see. All right. So, because it is primarily a link, that's why it has to be the li that will wrap everything up. Do you understand? If you try to put the li before the a, it might still give you what you want, but you will have issues. By the time you start having a bulky code, you're going to have issues, definitely. I can promise you that because I've had that error before. So you must make sure that since it is a link, let your anchor tag, be the one that will wrap it up for you. So let's cut and paste it there. Use your Ctrl X to cut and Ctrl V to paste. So you are supposed to put the content in between the opening tag and the closing tag of your anchor. All right. So if you're done, you can do a preview. Let's see. And we'll move on from there. All right. If you're done typing, let me know so I can move my screen. So the essence is so that we'll be able to click on About Us and it takes us to About Us page. Are we together now? So if we click on Services, it takes us to Services. If we click on Contact Us, it takes us to Contact Us. And now, if you're done, please let me know. I hope you're having a nice time. Are we enjoying this code? I'm sorry I'm not very cracking some funny jokes.
Like, man, I'm telling you.
Okay. All right. So let's check our screen and see what we have. Good. Now, I like what I'm seeing. Do you like what you're seeing? Can you see it well? It has changed it to a link, right?
Yeah.
But your hover is still working. But if you notice something, the text decoration has changed, right? Now, because it is a link, it is, like I said yesterday, by default setting, it's going to have an underline. Okay, no. But it's going to have a color that is something like a blue because it's a link. So let's try to change the color. Let's try to change the color. We used white and it didn't work, right? Okay. So let's go to navbar, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this text decoration already, if you remove it, you will notice that. If you remove it, you will notice that. Yeah, it will have something like an underline. So let's put what's it called? What are we trying to do? Change the color, right? Now, because the navbar affects each of the lines, so this should change the color to white. It should. That's why this did not work. This will not work, but this should work. All right. Are we together?
Yeah.
Okay, so put the white in the navbar, the color navbar, and then you can remove it from the nav list. So that way it's going to affect each of the lines. Are we together?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we have our navigation. We have a navigation, which is very sweet. Is it not sweet? So you can add more effects. If you check a website called w3schools.com, you can add more effects. You know, you want it to be bouncing, that kind of thing. If you want, when you hover on it, you want the home to be bouncing. You can check a whole lot of that on your W3 schools. All right. What else should we do to this navigation bar before we move? All right. Okay. So the next thing I want us to talk about, this 1020. We need more time. Okay. So next I want us to talk about is HTML forms. HTML forms, right? HTML forms. Let's see. So let's go back to our code. HTML forms. So, of course, just like the way you have a tag for almost everything in HTML, you have a tag for your form too, right? You have a tag for your form, and there are certain things that certain things. Okay, so let me quickly give us a small exercise. Now, do you see what you have here for Honda and Toyota? So no, for your fruits, list of fruits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to create how would I put it now? Create a list, something like create something like a navigation bar. It's going to be under this one, and then what you have inside is more like categories of edibles, you know. So you should have something like this. Your UL, I'm going to help you a little. Your UL, and then your LI, you're going to have fruits, right? Later we're going to link all these things. So crops, fruits, crops. Sorry, my cap lock is on. Fruits, crops, right? What else? Fruit, crops, and edibles. So let's just put groceries. No, not groceries. Junk, right? Let's put 3 different things: food, crops, and junks. So what I want you to do is to style this, make it look something a little bit close to this. Now use a different color, a different background color, of course, but make sure at all times your text is legible. You know, just like the way you have it here. Make sure your text is legible. So style this, and please make sure it is not as big. The padding is not as big as this one. Reduce the padding a little bit. So instead of using percentage here, you can use px. So you can say you want to have 30 px. If you don't like the padding, change the number. You understand? Reduce the number or increase the number, however you want it. So here, you see the way we have it here. So let's start now. This is what we need to do. So later we will move that fruit to a different page, so that when we click on fruits, it will show us fruits. When we click on crops, it shows us crops. When we click on junks, it shows us crops. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do that. All right. Let's give it a class. Fruits, then ID fruits. All right, so I think this worked perfectly fine. You can actually use the same name for your class and your ID. I hope you know that. You can use the same name. It doesn't affect anything. So I'm just using a different name. I'm using fruits with the plural and fruit. So when we want to style this now, we can pick the fruits, dot fruits. You know, it's a class, right? So you pick it with the dot selector, and then you give it a background color of what? Let's use something that is close to what we have. So, and that's another thing. Larry, can you hear me?
Sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
The color, the background color you're choosing should be harmonious in terms of your design. You understand? Don't just use any color. So that your eyes will not be punishing you. You know. You understand? So,
Okay,
so the next thing we want to do is to the nav, the fruits, right? All right. So let's pick the fruit. ID fruits. What do we want to do to the fruit? We want to give it a display, right? Display inline block, and we want to give it a text decoration of none. We want to give it a padding of 10 px. and we want to give it a color of white. Should we use white? Will white come out well? Okay. Okay. All right. Good. And we want to text align. So we have our fruits in the center, fruit crops junks. So now we want a situation where when we put our mouse over fruits, it gives us a over property, just like this. When we put our mouse on this, it gives us the hover property. Are we together? All right. So
Yes, sir.
yeah. So let's do that. And we said we are going to do that not on the entire UL. You know, the UL is like a container for the fruit crops and junks, right? So we already
Yes,
saw
sir.
that if we do it on the entire UL, that's if we use this class, it's going to make the whole thing white. Do you get? So we need to do it on the LIs, on the LI, not the UL. Because what that means is if I do it on the UL, if I put my mouse here, everything will be white. Do you understand? So let's do it on fruit. So we'd say, because we used an ID for fruits, so we pick fruits with no S, and then we pick the hover property. This is the way to denote a hover property. So anytime you do this, your VS Code already understands that, okay, you want to use the hover property. And then we are saying background colors should be white. Right? Background colors should be white. And then your color should be black. And like I always explain, background color does not affect the content. Your color affects the content. We understand now. So when you use background color, it changes to white, and then it means that what will now happen is the color of these fruits, crops, and junks will change to black. So, are we together? Now, so there's one last thing. If you notice, I don't know why. Yeah, the mouse what's it called, symbol is not changing, right, for this one. You know why now? And that's because this is a link and this is not a link, right? So let's make it a link. How do we make it a link? Put everything in an anchor tag. So put everything in an anchor tag. So let's go put it in an anchor tag, cut and paste this, and do this here the same way. Okay, put in an anchor tag. All right, so I'm going to give you, Anna, you would like to type, right?
Oh, so I'm not with my laptop right now. I'm at
Okay.
work. I'm just trying to join the class.
All right, okay, no problem. So just try to follow.
Okay, sir.
All right. So let's move on then. So the next thing is, now that we have made it a link, you will notice the color. Okay, it didn't change because we already made it white. All right. So now the mouse behavior changes when you hover on it, and then you have this. I think this is good. We can also still reduce what's it called? We can give the, let's see, if we give it a background radius, a border radius rather. Give it a border radius of maybe 20 px for the fruit. You know, it's the fruit we apply the background color to. That's the whole UL, right? So when you give it a border radius, what happens? Now, do you see the two ends?
Yeah.
Yeah. So give it a border radius of 20 px, and then, makes it look sweet. All right. So the next thing we're moving on to now is to talk about, let's quickly talk about divs and span. Divs and span before we move to HTML forms. Then that will be the last thing we talk about. Divs and span. So before I explained that block level elements means that nothing must be on my side. I want to occupy the full width. That's what block level element means. And then inline elements means, okay, I can accommodate you. You're my good neighbor. Come and stay beside me. You understand? That's basically the explanation. So example of a block level element is div. D-I-V. Div. So that's a vivid example of a block level element. Now, we're going to learn to see how it works. And there are certain attributes you use with the block level elements. You know, like I said before, there are some attributes you can't use with a tag. So the div2 is also a tag, and you can't just use some attribute with it. You can use some attribute with it. So just like you can't use color with an img tag, an image tag. You understand? So there are some attributes that come for only for div. So one of the brothers of div is span. Span is also like a div, but the difference is span is an inline container. Do you understand? So when you use div does not allow anything to stay beside it, but span will allow something to stay beside it. So that already tells you that span will say, okay, I can stay inside a text. You know, like yesterday where we had that Mandela text, you understand? You can put a span, yes, you can use a span in the middle of any text and do anything you want with that particular text that you have put span around. That's what span helps you to do. Do you understand? But div now, the moment you use div, nothing can stay on the side. It will just carry everything and put on the next line. Do you understand? So, of course, it has a tag. So, as a front-end developer, div will be your sweetest friend. Abilari, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So, if you're a front-end developer, this will be one of the things that you will type regularly, div. So, it's just div. So, ordinarily like this, you can't see anything in div unless you put a content inside, right? Unless you put a content inside and then you style it. So, let's do like this. Let's put a content. Let's use h2 and say this is the first time I'm seeing a div. All right. So let's just put a demo content inside. Now let's preview and see what it looks like. All right. Can I move my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So now, do you notice something is above every other thing? Let's bring it down a little bit. But if you notice, it's just showing like a normal text, right? It's just showing like a normal paragraph text. So that means it needs a styling for us to see what the div is about. So, but let's bring it down. It's not supposed to be there. Shouldn't be above our navigation. We don't want that. So let's put it there. All right. So now let's give the div a class, right? So let's give it a class div1. Let's give it a class div1. I'm not sure about the naming conventions for class, but I have not tried it before. I'm not sure you can use a number to start the name of a class, but it can contain a number, but you can't use a number to start. I'm not sure you can. So div1, right? So let's style it. Let's style it, right? Div1, and then we say, okay, one of the first attributes that I use with a div is called border. You know, just like the way countries have border. This guy too has a border. So border receives 3 attributes. If it was Sublime, it will show you that It receives three attributes. It first of all receives the thickness of the border, then the style of the border, and the color of the border. Are we together? The thickness
Yes.
of the border, the style of the border, and the color of the border. So I can say 1px solid red. Now, so this is going to show differently now. Do you understand? So let's see how it looks. Have we typed this? 1px solid red. Just a space between them. Oh, just a space between them. 1px solid red. Can I move my screen now? So when you're done typing, check on your screen and let me know what you can see there. Okay. All right. Can you see it? Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
So do you have the same thing on your screen? Let me show you the code again. Do you have the same thing on your screen? I'll wait for you until you can give me a yes. So do you have it on your screen now? Should I move up?
Hold on, please.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Larry, do you have the same thing on your screen? I'm not sure Larry is present.
Sir?
Do you have the same thing on your screen?
Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we can move forward. Mr. Daniel, are you with us, sir? Mr. Dan? I need to confirm if other people are here. Okay, I think Mr. Dan has gone, Abby. All right, so let's move forward. Now, the next thing is, now if you notice, so that means let's create more divs. There's something we want to achieve with that, right? Let's create more divs. So you can do another div, but as a developer, you don't want to be typing the same thing every time. So let's do 3 divs. Let's do 3 divs, right? Now, I'm going to show you some other cool stuff and let you see how ID works, how ID can work as a URL, you know. So you're going to see that now. All right, so we have this div2. Please name it accordingly, div2 and div3. If you are done with this, please let me know. Please name it accordingly. You can change the content a little bit. a second div, a third div. All right. Can I move on? Can I move on to the styling?
Very well, sir.
All right, good. So you can combine, if you want to use the same style for a CSS, right? For a particular, how would I put it, in a class, you can combine them instead of repeating the same style. For instance, instead of doing .div2 and putting the same border and everything, you understand, you can just do a comma and do .div2, comma, .div3. So any styling that you know is going to run across the same set of classes, put them together. Are we following? Put them
Yes,
together.
sir.
Yes, put them together. So that way you are going to see how it works. So when you refresh, you see you have 3 divs lined on top of each other, right? You have 3
Yes, sir.
divs lined on top of each other.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now another thing is, let's give it a width and a height. Let's just do some other things. Let's give it a width of how big should it be? Let's say 400 px. No, 400 would be too much because I will still want to float them side by side. So let's give it 300 px, right? And then let's give it a height of 400 px. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
So you notice that once we do this, it applies to everything for the div, because you have grouped them together. It applies to everything. So once you're done, check your screen. 300 px, 400 px. I can move on, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So let's check. Now, you see, okay. So, okay, I think the 300 is quite small, self, because by the time these guys come here, there will still be space. So I want it to be a little bit larger. 500. Okay, let's just keep it at 400. And the height 500. I don't want it to be equal. All right. Okay. So the next thing is, now, do you see what there's something we're driving at now? So that means anything I put in this container, if I move the div, the content will move with it. I hope you know that. The content will move with it. So let's try to do some other things. What else can we do with this div? Can we put it side by side each other? Just like the way we have this. It should work, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So what do we need to do here? What if we do display inline block? Will it work?
The inline block, right?
Yes, let's try it and see if it will work. Display inline block. And let's see if it will work. Display inline block. Alright. Our div is working well. But there's something wrong. Alright. Why is it not on the same?
Maybe we should put it to center and left.
Is that why it's not on the same line? This and this are on the same line, but the first one is not. The first one is not on the same line with it. Okay. You know, if you do, the thing is, okay. You say you want to put it in the center. Now, moving it will require that you put the 3 divs in a big div. Do you understand? Let me show you what I mean. Now, if you try to do text align to center, let's see what it does. Here you see, it only affects the content inside. Do you understand? It only affects the content inside the div. So, if you try to do margin, let's see. You know, I told you, now, okay, we've not used margin today. So, margin works with the container, right? Padding works with the content. You know, I told you that before. Margin works with the container and the body. So let's try to do margin, and then we'll do auto. Anytime you do margin auto, it means you want it to go to the center. Do you see? It doesn't really work well. It doesn't really work well. And the reason is it's supposed to be in a big div. It's supposed to be in a big div. But I am just particular about this guy. These ones are on the same this thing and this one. As if there's something blocking it. What
Sir,
yeah?
when I tried using my own, I'm not using inline block. I used float right.
Okay, yeah, you can also
Yeah,
use float, right? So and it
yeah. So
gave
I gave
you
it. I
huh?
gave it a margin of 10 pixel.
Okay, of course, of
Float
course.
right, you know what? It works well, right?
It worked well.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so let's use float then. Larry is a front-end developer, guys, so that's why it can be if you can be flexing like that. So when you do float, right? Now you see, you know when I said that there are some properties that don't work with some things. For instance, now if you're gonna use float with fruit, I'm not sure you will see anything. You know, float works well with why am I having error?
It's objects, right?
Larry, why am I having error?
Where?
Maybe you should remove the display inline block.
Okay, sure. So it looks like float does not want to work with display. That's just funny. All right. So the set float, right? Good. Now, do you see what it's doing? So it's allowing even your list to be on the same side, right? Is this what you have, Larry?
No, sir.
This is not what you have.
Yes.
So why am I having this?
Oh, I know why. Your div, you are putting it on top of the class. Maybe she just move it down. I dropped my own down.
What?
All the div, drop it down. Let it come down.
Okay. Because it's on top of the ULs.
Yes.
Okay, it's all right. All right. Let me put it in a big div.
Okay.
Let me
Okay.
put it in a big div. So that should work perfectly. Let me try that. So I'm going to cut and paste it and put in a big div. And the reason is I want it to occupy the full width. Do you understand? So I can give this a class and call it big div. Right? Big div. All right. So still will be there and all right. Let me bring it down like it's set. Okay. All right. All right. Are we good? So I have this. Now I can bring this div to the center, right? This big div. Let me give it a margin auto and let's see what happens. So the big div and give it a margin auto, right? So you might want to put your own in a big div too. Please put it in a big div so that you
Okay.
can, yes, so that you can centrally align it well. This float right is affecting my this, you know. Coming and use display. All right, so let me just wait for you to put yours in a, put it in a big div. I'm waiting. Do you need to see my code to do that? Put it in a big div. There's something I want to achieve. It's giving us small issues. All right, the div one. If you're done, please let me know. Sure, you see all this code that we're typing now. If you wanted to do this in Bootstrap, it's just to include a class. And it makes it very, very easy for you. Okay. All right. So float right brings everything and aligns it to your right. Right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't want it to be aligned to the right. Let me see. Are there any other options here? No other options here. All right.
Is there no flex center?
Flex,
No.
right? Let's see. No, actually, you can use flex to space between flex center. No, there's no center. There's no flex center. We can actually use positioning to bring it back, but it won't work. So let's continue. Let's bring the big div. Where's the guy? Okay. So let's do the margin auto is not working for it. So let's do margin right, margin left. Let's do 20px and see how it moves. You see why I don't like this float right? I don't like using float. I like using float. It will just pick everything and just gum it one side. Yeah, honestly, I don't like using float at all. Maybe it's not left. Let me use right. Because sometimes my right is different from the computer's left. All right. So margin right. What if I use auto? What happens? Maybe I use left. I want it to be. All right. So let's give it 100px and see. Okay. So 50px. Okay. Do we have this? So let's put this margin right 50px in your big div. Then try to see. It should be. It's not really center aligned. 70. All right. So I think it's center aligned now. Yeah. So do this. All right. So there's something I want to achieve with this, which is all right. So let's give it a margin, right? let's give it a margin of 10 px. Each of the divs margin of 10 px. Oh, there's no space. Let me reduce the width 300. I don't like this margin right, this float right. I don't like it. I'm going to 10 px 100 120 140 180. Okay. 190. All right. Are we together? Hello, guys.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Has Mr. Lao joined back?
He's not here, sir.
Right. So sorry. All right. So the next thing we want to do is let's try to put this our list inside the divs, right? Let's put it inside the divs. Let's put it inside the div. So cut and paste. List of car names. Put it in the first div. So remove this content here. Put it. Okay. So this other one too. List of fruits. Put it in the next div. So all right, so the third div we could, let's think, well, what can we put in the third div? What can we put in the third div? List of words. Okay, finally I think I get my wish. Football stars. So before encore. All right. So let's just find the dummy text to put there. Ronaldo. Mbappe. Neymar. Hazard. Yes. I don't like Messi, so don't expect me to put Messi there. Sorry. For Barcelona fans. Who else? De Bruyne. Okay. De Bruyne. Then
Foden.
yeah, Foden. It's like you're a Man City fan, sir.
Like I love football.
All right. Okay, welcome back. Phil Foden. Okay, so we have this, and then so this has been my aim to have something like this. So right now I want to really show you the padding and the margin very well. So you know when we applied the 10px margin, you see that there's a difference here. Before there was no space here, right? Now the next thing we want to do is to put a padding in the container itself, so that there is a space between the L and the surrounding body of the div. Are we together? So let's put a padding here. So you go to the div particularly. Now the good thing is we already packed all the divs together, so you can easily put a padding. Now I'm going to explain another thing about this padding 10px. So when you put padding 10px,
Excuse me, sir.
yes sir.
Are we recording this class, sir?
Yes, it's recorded.
All right, sir.
Yeah. So I'm going to upload the videos and share the links with us after the class. Yes, once it's done and we've converted, we'll share the links. All right, so 10px, right? Now you will see something. Now observe the space here, up, and here, and here. So you will see the difference. Now do you see there's a little more space up, there's a little more space on the left and on the right and down, of course. So that's because when you use padding like this without specifying whether it is right or left or top or bottom, it will automatically add padding to all the sides. Are we together? When you use only
Yes, sir.
padding like this, it will automatically add padding to all the sides. Now, however, because you have padding right, padding left, padding top, and padding bottom, you can put another value here and say, okay, 10px. So this will now go for left and right, top and bottom. Are we together? Like
Yes,
this
sir.
now. It's going to go for left and right, top and bottom, like this. So if you can decide to put a different number here, put 3px. So you will see the difference now. Now do you see? So do you now see that, okay, this is top and bottom, then left and right? Do you get? So
Yes.
the first one is the top and bottom, the second one is the left and right. So you notice that there is a space for the top and bottom, but your left and right has gone back to the way it was before, very, very small. Are we together? So very important that you understand how the padding works. So of course it can take up to 4. So if you want to specify the space for I think the way it starts is left, right, up and down. Do you understand? So you can do 0px, 0px. That's if you don't want any this thing, space up and down. So your left and right, you can make it 15 if you want. I hope we are getting what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
So let's remove this because there's no need to put it. So yes, so it's giving us a little space. It's giving us a little space. So let's put this. Let's put the padding. Let's put the padding. All right. So another thing we can do is to give it a background color, right? Now, but I will want it to have different background colors so that it can, flash in our face a little bit. So what that means is we need to separate these guys, right? We need to separate them. So let's give the div1 a background color of what? Let me just use all these weird colors that are here. Salmon. The div2 a background color of div1 is which one is fruit? 1 or 2? I want to use a
Let me check.
div2, Abi.
Yeah, div 2 is fruits.
Okay, so let's use tomato for the color, and div3 is for footballers, right? So let's use something mainish. Background color will be what? Let me use that teal. That teal is actually a very cool color. It's a cool color. I like it. So let's do this. I'll be waiting. When you're done, please let me know.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Is it looking nice? It's looking sweet, Abby.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
looking fantastic.
Good, good, good. All right, so let's put some border radius to it. Now, because it's all the divs, you want to put a border radius, so you can easily go up and put it here instead of going to it one by one, right? So let's give it a 20px border radius because we want it to be very, very obvious. Let's give it a 20px border radius. Now, if you notice, the text is still not centered, right? So let's give it a text align center. Oh, sorry. Center. Text align center. Alright. So I hope you can see your assignment coming. Yeah, me, I can see it though. We're going to style this thing so that it looks very nice. It looks very, very nice. Alright. So let's change the color, right? Let's change the color. And okay, so we have to affect the styling now. Do you see what this text align center is doing? Carry the
Yes.
bullet, put one side, carry the content, put the other side. It is very, very, very wrong. Alright. So it looks a little bit not on the side because of the bullet on the side. So let's style it. Can we quickly do that? Let's style it. So just like the same thing we did for the fruits and everything, but this time around your display will not be inline block. Do you understand? So the only thing we're doing is just to remove the text decoration there, right? And then the display is, we're not doing touching the display. It's still going to be block like that. So and then we'll just put a padding to it and then put a color white. So you don't need a hover to, unless you want to make it a link or a button. But this is just a list. So let's quickly do that. Can we do that in the next 10 minutes? Okay. Are we done?
Almost.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you share your screen? Let me see. You used, but this is what I used in mine. Car list and cars. So I'm going to start with car list and cars. Dot car lists. Right? Do I even want to do anything to that? Let me just go to cars directly. Hashtag cars, right? Cars. So give it text decoration on. Why is not picking it?
Same here.
It's not picking it there too?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Okay, do this. Commit.
Just lost a little, but I'll get it with time.
Okay. Okay, where exactly? At which point?
Let me check.
Trying to check text decoration on. Okay. Can you pick Li and try that? Text decoration on. Okay. I think it's the div that is. We need to access them through the div. Through the div. What do you do? Okay. Dot car list. Car list li. So we have test declaration. This should work. What's going on here now? Maybe we should first of all style our thing before bringing it inside. It's the same thing now. Alright. We'll now allow that to slow us down because we need to learn forms. So we'll come back to this. Let's go to forms first. Do we have an agreement? Let's go to forms first and learn how to create forms. Then we'll come back to this styling. That's not an issue. There's probably something we are not doing right. Okay. Do we have an agreement? We should move to forms, right?
Okay, sir.
No problem. Nothing.
Yes, let's move to forms. So, because class is ending by 12 and this is 11:34, so we can use the last minute to do that. All right. HTML forms. As usual, you want to output anything, you need a tag. That's a closing, opening and a closing tag. Form tag, and there are certain attributes that have to do with form, and we're going to be talking about the attributes briefly but not in depth because the attributes are very important too. So it has an action attribute and a method attribute. action and method attributes. So this method is for when you want to send the data in the form to another place. So that one will be working with the database possibly, or just sending it to another page. You understand? So that's beyond the scope of what we need to cover in this class. So then the action form is just the path. It indicates the path. Where do you want me to go when you click on submit button? That's what the action is saying. What action do you want to take? Do you want to go to Jerusalem or Judea? You know, that's what the action button is about. The action there stands for. So in the form tag, there are some tags that are peculiar to the form. There are some tags that are peculiar to the form and only works within the form. When I mean only works, it doesn't mean it will not display when you put it outside the form. But you'll not be able to harvest what is in whatever it is that the user puts in the form. Excuse me. You understand? So if you don't put those tags in between the form tag, you will not be able to have access to the values the user is inputting. So for instance, the federal government is saying if you want 30,000 naira, come and register somewhere. You understand? So you put your name, you put your email and everything. If those things are not contained within the form tag, you will not be able to have access to the data that the user is putting. Are we together? So that is why.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So one of the first input tag, which is an example of an inline element. As a matter of fact, most tags in the form tag are actually inline elements, and you will see that in a second. They're actually inline, just a few. I think it's just address and video that is not an inline element. You know, every other thing inside it is an inline element. So we'll see how it works. So for you to be able to collect data from the user, you need a tag called input. Input tag. And when you click on input tag, it does not have a closing tag. This is the way it comes. Input like this. Like this. So input has an attribute. Ordinarily like this now, when you save this and you preview on your browser, this is what you get. Nothing. Okay, here. You understand? You get something like this. And you know, this is not the kind of form you fill now. The kind of form you fill, it has name, you know, you see the description properly there. So let's I don't know why this thing is just showing. Alright. So it has an attribute called type. Like I said, name and value. Name and value. So you see, VS Code is already suggesting values for me. So there is a type called button. There is a type called checkbox, color, and I'm going to explain everything one by one. So for input type, for text, in cases where you need to put name, you use input type equals to text. Are we together? In cases where you need to put your name, you use input type equals to text. So in those cases where you see people selecting date of birth, they use input type equals to date. Are we together? Input type equals to date. So input type equals to button will show like a button. That's what you click on for submit. Do you understand? Input type equals to button, or input type equals to is it submit? Yes. Submit. Yes. Input type equals to submit. Do you understand me now? So checkbox will show as a checkbox. We're going to use everything, so I'm just trying to explain to you. Checkbox is going to show as a checkbox, while input type equals to radio is what is used for male and female. That's what is used for male and female. Then what else? So let's just try to do the form and then we'll see how it works. Are we together? Okay, let's go.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so input type equals to text. The first thing we want to do is to allow the person to input his name. So let's give it a header, right? Let's give it a header. What's going to be our header? User registration form, right? Let's just use something very basic and simple. So we need all the details about the user. Input type equals to text, right? Input type equals to text. Now, there's other attributes that you can use with the input type, and it's necessary that you know this. There is a name attribute and a value attribute. The name attributes and a value attribute. The name attribute works in some very special cases. The value attribute means that if you want to supply a predefined value in the text box, you put something in the value. I think I'm going to bring it up. I don't know. This is our flow chart and wow. Okay, I know what to do. HR. All right. So look at what I did here. I applied HR. HR is horizontal rule. So it just gives us a, understand? It gives us the demarcation between this and that. And then because it's a block level element, it will not allow anything to stay beside it. So that div could not cross over to the other side. Hallelujah. So actually, the way it is now, you can actually style the HR so that it is not visible. Are we together? You can style the HR and reduce the opacity to maybe like 5% or 2%. You will not see it. And it will still be there. Are we getting? I'm just showing you some other tricks to it. Okay, so I want the form to be up so that we can see. Let's move on. So can we see this? Can we see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when I put a value here, let's say multi-spread. When I put this, you see what happens. It predefines, it puts multi-spread as a value there. Now, this already, tells you a lot about some forms that you see online where you see a value there already, right? So this is, that's just the secret. So if the value is generated from the database, after they've queried the database and it's out, they just put the variable that is holding the value and put it here. That's all. So it's quite easy. So we don't want a value there. Instead, we want to let the user know that that field is for first name, right? That field is for first name. Good. So now what we want to do is, there are two ways to do that. I'm going to show you the old way and the latest way, not necessarily the new way, just a much more modified, modern way of doing it. So the old way is you can do something like this. First name, right? First name, and because it's inline, it will stay beside each other. Fine, it will. So you have this. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
This is an old way. I call it an old way. This is so the better way is to use what we call a placeholder. Are we together? A placeholder.
Yes,
so your placeholder will now say first name. Now placeholder works like value, but it is not, when you try to click it, it does not show like value. So so you just type your first name on it. You notice. So that's a better way to do it. Now you can see that our form is not looking fine. So we will still style it at the end. So let's continue. So we want to do for first name and last name, Abi? Or should we just do full name here? Should do full name here, Abi? Alright.
I think first name and last name would be appropriate.
Let's do first name and last name. That's first.
Okay, first name and last name. So let's do something else. There's something I want to show you and why they call it an inline element. So the name. Okay, I've not explained the name. So you use the name to. The name is technically like a variable that holds the value the user is imputing. So usually when you want to send something to the database, you use the name. Now I said the name works in different ways. So when you're using input type equals to radio, the name does not just hold the value. It ensures that one person cannot be male and female. You're going to see that. So value, we don't need it, so we might as well remove it, but let's just keep it there. So placeholder last name. All right. So the next thing we want to ask about them is what? First name, last name. What else do we want to ask about the user? The gender, right?
Age or gender.
Gender, okay. So now in this case, because you can't use a placeholder with your input type equals to radio, you have to indicate that, okay, male and female. Male, input type equals to radio. I hope we're together. So now in this case, your name, let's use gender. The name is gender. Now in this case, the value has to be set to male, and that's because this input type is what we call it has a Boolean value. So it means if you don't set the value to male, when a user submits this form and he clicks male, what you will see in your database is on. Do you understand? You will see on because it's Boolean. So Boolean is just 1 and 0, right? It's just on and off. So that's what you will see in your database. So but when you set a value, this value will overwrite the default value and send it as male. Do you understand? So that's basically what this does. So let's do for female too, and then let's check. There's something we're going to see. Input type equals to radio, and then the name equals to gender, and the value equals to female. All right. Can I move on to my browser? Let's type this. If you're done, please let me know so that we can move on. Open. $500 for what? for something if they spoiled. Tell them, see, which 500? Tell them it's not working. This thing has pressed inside. You should fix it well. They want to collect money when they have not repaired it. All right, can I move on now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go to our screen and see what we have there. Now, if you notice, everything is on the same line, right? Good. So this is what we call an inline element. These elements, that input element is an inline element. So everything, it allows anything on the side. So there are some forms that you can create like this, right? But for the purpose of what we are doing, let's make it a block level element. Let's put it on block. So one of the easiest way to do this is to wrap it in a p tag. To wrap it in a p tag. So we're going to put it in a p tag, then cut and paste the whole input, put it in the content area. Are we together? So we do the same thing here. Carry the input, put it in a p tag, so that everything will be one on each of the lines. So we can leave the gender this way because we want the male and female to be on the same side. You understand? But then the whole gender will now be in a p tag, so that the next thing that is coming after it will not affect it. All right, so we can bring it down for readability. All right, so now the next thing is so after gender, we want to ask them for where state of origin, right? We want to ask them for state of origin. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to use a select tag to do that. However, because select is also an inline element, we still have to put it in a p tag. Are we together? So this is the way the select tag works. Select. This is the way it works. So select has an opening and a closing tag. It's different from just your input tag. Now, in some other browsers, you will see a forward slash here at the end. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay if you see a forward slash here. It doesn't change anything. Do you understand? VS Code likes to remove it, but some other people will teach you that you should put the forward slash. It's okay. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't affect your form. It doesn't affect the content. It's just the same thing. All right. So this is the way your select tag works. It also has a name. And as an ID, you can put an ID. Of course, this one too, you can also put an ID here. It doesn't change anything. So in your select tag, you now have what we call options. Option. Now, this option is what is responsible for bringing up those drop down that you see. So as it is like this now, we want states, right? So we can say select states for the first option. Select states for the first option. So the second option, we are going to put the state. Let's start with the very first state alphabetically. Abia. Right? So we can duplicate this in multiple rows. Now imagine if you were doing this for 36 states, right? That's a lot of code to type. So this is where JavaScript comes in. JavaScript can help you, you can create an array of 36 states and just slot in the code here. So we'll be doing that if we have more time in other classes. Show you how to use JavaScript arrays and how to do that. Definitely. So let's just add some more states. Let's say make it like 5 or 6. So you can copy and paste this and then change the states. Let's do Lagos because we are in Lagos. If you are not in Lagos, can you tell us your state so that we can put it there? Do you have anybody that is
I'm
not
in
in
Ogun State. Ogun State.
Ogun State? Okay.
Mm.
Ogun. Akwa Ibom.
Akwa Ibom will be better.
Okay. Akwa Ibom. So now you will notice that there is a value. You will notice this value did not come out at the very first one, but it's coming
Hello,
out.
sir. Alright,
Okay.
okay. Mm.
All right. So the value didn't come out in the first one, but we have value here.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, this class. How do I have it?
You want to end? You want to have the class?
Yeah. Probably after this. I want
Yes.
to
It's
check
recorded.
it now.
It's recorded.
Okay.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
going to. Are you on the group chat?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay. Okay. What will happen is, who invited you?
Larry.
Larry. Okay. So Larry will let you know how. He will send the link to download the class. Sir.
I'm very glad. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Okay. So we have Akwa Ibom State. We have Akwa Ibom State. We have Abia. All right.
Abuja last.
Which one?
Abuja.
Abuja. All right, so I think we're okay with this. So what I was trying to explain before was we don't need a value for the first option, but we need a value for other options. And that's because the first option is empty. So if the person selects it, the person has not selected anything. That's how you check for errors on the page. So when somebody selects that first one, it means the person has not started selecting. Do you understand? So the other ones have value because that's what will be sent to the database. Remember I told you this value is what picks whatever it is the user is sending. So what the user will send is not really this guy here. What the user will send will be here. So you must make sure you have Abia or AB for short. You understand? So you have Lagos or LAG for short. You know all the states have their short form, right? Ogun, I think Ogun is OGN, right? Ogun should be OGN. Then Akwa Ibom is AK, right?
Yes.
Then
Yes.
Abuja is ABJ. Good. So when somebody selects any of these states and sends to database, what the person is going to see in database is not Ogun State, is OGN. Are we together? This is why this value attribute is very, very important. Otherwise, once you try to send and you're not seeing anything, check your value. It means that something is wrong with your value. The name is not correct or something. So let's move on. Let's check this on our screen. Can I?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
For that test, the first input, which is test,
Yes.
we didn't put anything in that value.
Yes, we didn't put anything.
What will it say? What will be the feedback?
The feedback as it is now will be whatever the user puts.
Okay.
Yes. So if we want a predefined value there, that's when we will now put maybe Adeolu, Do you understand? So that's what we show there. But that's not the name of the user. The form is not for you that you are creating. It's for the person you're creating it for. Good. So the person you're creating, so that person is going to put whatever value is there is what this one will automatically pick and send to the database. So usually you might not use the default value unless if for a purpose. Let's say for instance now, I think when I used it was when I needed to update, when you want to update your profile, right? When you want to update your profile, you click on your profile, it takes you to a page where you see your details already. And then you can now edit. Yes, you can now edit. So that's in the case where you will now use this value. So that way, because your details are generated from database and they are stored in a variable, you can easily just put the variable in this value quote here, and then it will echo it for the user. So the user will say, okay, this is what it is in database. Then I want to change it from Razak to Rashid. Then you will just remove and put a new one. Do you understand? That's more usually the cases where they use the value and they set a predefined value for it. But in most cases you don't use it. It's just for in cases for updates. All right, so let's check our screen. I believe if we check now, we're going to see something like this, right? So let's use the other input tags, and then we will call it a day for today. All right. P. Which one are we here to use? Well, okay, let's use checkbox, right? Checkbox. Now, the way the checkbox works, let me remove this first. So the way the checkbox works is you use checkbox for when you want the user to select more than one item. Am I correct? When you want the user to select more than one item, that's when you use the checkbox. So, for instance, let's say we want to check for your hobby. Larry, what you like doing, right? We want to check for Larry's hobbies. So we say hobbies. You know you can have more than one hobby. That's why you will use checkbox and not radio button. Are we getting it now? Radio button is just for one choice only. So hobbies is for more than one, of course. So we do hobbies, and then we say input type equals to checkbox. Checkbox. Now, so the name will be hobby 1. Now, these ones will have different names. You know why? Because we want to capture every hobby. Do you get? So hobby 1, and I think that's all. No need for placeholder. So now this is just the title of what the person wants to fill. You know, we have not put the hobby yet. I hope you know that. So
yes,
right. So what we want to do now is to put the hobby. So the hobby here should be, sorry. What's the first? Larry, what do you like doing?
Playing football.
Playing football. Playing football. So checkbox is also an inline element, so they will just appear next to each other. So we can copy this line and paste it so that we'll save time because it's 12 already. Hobby 2. What other hobby do you have, sir?
Coding.
Coding, are you sure?
Mr. T, you know now.
Really? Okay, so if you notice, I've changed the name to hobby 2 because if you use hobby 1, it's going to overwrite each other. I don't even know which one we pick first. Maybe then of course you know the value has to be what? Football. Do you understand? The value in this case will be football because this is just what will be displayed. This is not what will be sent. So the value of course has to be football, and in this case the value here has to be coding. All right, so let's just put one more. Which other thing? You don't like traveling, you don't like reading, you don't like meeting people?
I love meeting people.
Okay, meeting people. Oh, right. All right, so the value
meeting new people. New people.
Yes, thank you, sir. Meeting new people. That's true. So now in this case, you might, depending on how you're modeling your database, you can decide to put the whole text or you can put a short form. So let's just put the whole text. Meeting new people. All right. Okay, so when we check this in our browser, we will see how this works. All right. Okay. Let me give us some time to type this out. I'd really love us to style it if possible, but the styling is not be here. So I will send us a link on that. Okay. So which other tag have we not used for form? We've used the checkbox, we've used the radio, we've used the input type equals to text.
Age.
The age, Abby. And that one is just text now, right? It's just text. So okay, we can use date too, right? That's date of birth. You know, there's a difference between the age and date of birth. So age is you want the person to put a text. Tell me if you're 20 years old or 25 or 30. Then date of birth is you have to select your month, your day. So let's do the date. P. Input type. So of course, because the date of birth, the way it shows, it does not, you can't use a placeholder with it. So you have to indicate, right? You have to indicate because of the way it will show. You can't use a placeholder with date of birth. So input type equals to date. That's all. Then you can put the name equals to date. But the reason we're not putting anything in the name value for this one is because we are not sending to the database. That's all. So which other one? I remembered one now. Address. Yes. Address, right? So I said address is a block level tag. So can we put let's put the date of birth after the, what's it called? After the sex, the gender. Yes, let's put it in order of importance. So we can put the address. Let's put the hobbies last. Let's cut the hobbies and put them last. And then I didn't even know I was doing it on top of the select. So you come under the select, put the hobbies. So you can put the address after the location, after the state. All right. So here you have address, right? Address can use a placeholder, so we don't need to put that. Input type equals to, okay, one more thing. Address uses there's a tag address. I'm not exactly sure of how it works. Not that I'm not exactly sure. It works almost. I don't even know. I don't use it. What I use is text area. So it works perfectly fine. Text area is for address. Text area is a bigger text. That's all. So instead of using input type equals to text, you know, input type equals to text is small. So because your address is big, you need to use text area. So the text area will be here. That's here. So you can now say, use a placeholder. I think placeholder works with it, and say, what is it now? Please type your address here, or you can just put your address. Are we together, guys?
Yes, sir.
So if you notice, you have something like columns and rows here. Now it's defining the width and the height, technically. The width and the height. So the columns here in this case is, okay, that is the width, and the rows is the height. Yes, the width and the height. So how big and how long it will be. So you already have an idea. When you see the width is 30, so it's going to be fat, and the rows. Okay, no, it's not going to be fat. The rows moves from left to right, right? Rows is from left to right now. So rows talks about
yes.
So rows talks about the width. Sorry, I'm very sorry. Rows talks about the width. Then the columns is from top to down. So columns talks about the length. Are we together? So let's see how it looks. So that means it's going to be very slim. So let's go to our page.
Rows is from top to down.
Yes.
Right?
No, rows is from left to right.
Is from left to right.
Let's see Let's see which
Let's
one
see.
is correct. Okay, so you see, which one is smaller in this case? It looks like a square. So let's make it very
Yeah,
let's make it very obvious, right?
understand.
Rows
So the row should be like
50.
no. It should be
It will be too
okay.
fat.
Yes.
It will be fatter.
I mean the row is supposed to be the height.
But in this case, you know, rows. When you say a row in church, row is from left to right. Sure, you know, it's from left to right. It's not from up to down. It's a column that
So
you say is yes.
that's what I'm saying is I think it's from up to down for me.
Okay, let's check now. So I've increased my rows to 50. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so I think you're correct. So it's from up to down. All right, so let's increase our columns. I still don't understand this thing. All right, so let's make it 100 so we can have a very fat something. So this thing is too big for address, I beg. So let's it's too big. So let's all right. This is better, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you notice something, there's no title for what we are putting here. Placeholder is not working for address. Placeholder is not working for it. See, now it's not that the placeholder is working. You see, it's not working. So we need to put a title here that says address. I told you there's an address tag. Maybe later in your spare time you can check it out and know why there is an address tag, because most developers don't use it. I can guarantee you that what they use is text area, and they just style the text area and they are good to go. Okay, so let's reduce the width a little bit. 70. All right. So all right, so now you know our address is not in any tag, right? It's not in any tag, so it's trying to be inline. Address is okay. Text area is inline, while it is the address tag that is a block level, not text area. The address tag that is block level. So we need to put this in a p tag. We need to put it in a p tag so that it can be on top of it. We don't want it to be on the side. I hope I'm not confusing you also. All right, so
Don't worry, sir.
okay, all right, so let's do this, and if we check here now, you see, good. So I think we've used all the tags, the basic tags for the form. Now the next thing
If we don't use that p tag, what will happen?
if you don't close the p tag,
Yes. What will happen?
it will not give you what you want now. It will still be inline. It will still be inline.
Okay.
Let's see. See.
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will still be inline. So you have to close it. You have to close it. So it will bring the text area down. So we need to put a submit button. We need to submit our form. So I told you there are 2 ways to do it, and I will show you the 2 ways. So of course your submit button should be at the end of the form, right? At the end of the form. So we have the first type, which is the input type equals to submit, then the name, and then the value. In this case now, the value is what? Register or submit form. Whatever it is you want to put in the value is what we display. This is the first way to show a submit button. So your input type equals to submit. So this input guy is actually very powerful. It has different types. All right, so when we check this out, you should see a button here. Can we see a button? Good. So all this is not looking sweet. All right, so the second way is to use a button tag. A button tag, right? Then type equals to submit. Then within the, because the button tag has closing, opening and closing tag. So within the context of the button, that's where you will now put the value submit form. Let's use another English here. Right? So you will see how they will display. I think the button is supposed to be an inline element. I'm not sure. Supposed to be an inline element. Yeah. So they are both inline elements, so they will display beside each other. Are we together, guys?
Please, I can go back to your code.
Yes. This is my code. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now our form is ready, but it is not fine. We need to make it look fine. Let's reduce the columns further so that we will not have plenty things to style. All right. Okay. So our form is ready, but it's not fine. So let's make it fine. So let's put it in a div. Should we put it in a div, or we should just give it a class here? Let's put it in a div.
Okay.
Let's put it in a div. So if you are using VS Code, you can do this and just minimize a little bit. Create your div. Give it a class called form and cut it and put there. Hallelujah. All right. So we have put our form in a div. We've put our form in a div. We have given a class form, so we can go and pick the class and do anything we want. We can go and pick the class and do anything we want with it. So first of all, I'd love to pick the class and give it a background color of tomato. I think I like that color. It's very nice. Then when you check it, you see that? You see that, right? So let's bring this guy inside, this header. Let's bring him inside the form. Let's bring him here. So that whatever happens to the form will happen to him too. Alright. So the next thing is let's set a width to the width, right? We don't want it to take the full width like that. Should we leave it like this?
Yeah.
No.
No, okay. So let's give it a width of 600 pixels. It's the div we are styling right now, but we didn't name it div. We named it form, right? So
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So if we give it a width of 600 pixels, now, okay, we have something nice. So let's give it a border radius of 20 pixels, and let's give it a padding. You know why we're giving it a padding? So that it can have space to breathe. Let's give it a padding of 5%, so it will go round. You will see the padding. I like this percentage because if you use 2 or 3, it shows a lot of difference. But that pixel is actually very small. You have to be increasing and increasing and increasing. You see the difference. You use 5%, but if you do 5 pixels, it will be very tiny, very, very tiny. So the metric is different from each other. So I actually use percentage because it quickly gives me what I want. So now, let's do a text align center. Let's see if it will work. If it doesn't work, we pick the form directly. Text align center, right? Good. So the next thing we want to do is to bring the form, the div itself to the center. So let's do a margin auto. Margin auto should work for the div. Should work for the div. All right. So it's in the center, right? Are we getting this?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good, good. So we can still do some more styling. Let me show you how we can style the text and the radio button and the rest of them. It's actually some, no, it's not really complex, but let's just do it. So if we want to style the input, right? We'll pick it and say input type equals, if you notice I'm using a square bracket, type equals to what? Text. Right? Now,
Okay.
yes, type equals to text this way. You will pick it like this. Now, you will now say something like, let's make it a little bit round. So let's give it a border radius of 5px. Do you see it has changed, right? That's changed. So we can make it bigger, right? It's actually small. So let's give it a padding. Is it padding? Is it padding? Let me see. It should be padding. So let's give it a padding of 2% or even 1 self. All right. Do we like this? It's looking better.
Yes, sir.
Can we make it larger? Let's make it larger, right?
Okay.
Yes. So we can give it a width of should we use percentage too? No, don't let us use percentage. It will just blow it out of proportion. Let's use 100px and see. Okay, 100px is actually small, so let's use 300. All right, this is looking better, right? So let's increase that border radius to 10. It's still shy. So now, all right, this is looking better, right? So let's style the what's it called? The radio buttons the same way. Input type equals to what? Radio. Input type equals to radio. I hope you're having a nice time.
Yes, sir.
Very well, sir.
Yeah, so let's remove. We don't need a border radius. For radio, the border radius is already 100. So what we need to do for the radio is we need to set the height and the width of the circle, right? The height and the width, and they have to be the same size. So let's look at 100 pixels, height 100 pixels, width 100 pixels. All right. So when we try to do this, it's quite big. So let's reduce it to 50,
50.
right? 50. I hope I'm not too fast.
Oh, sir.
Okay. So let's reduce it to 50. All right. All right. It's still very big.
It's still big.
Yes. So let's use 20. Or let's use 20. Let's use 20. But you can see the whole concept is coming to life, right? So you see the color. This looks like a Bootstrap form already. We have not even added Bootstrap. So now, and the next thing we want to do, if you notice, there's still a little, it's like if it's not breathing well, Abby. Let's give it a margin. Let's give the input type equals to text a margin of 10px. 10px. Do you see now? Now we're having some space to breathe and everything. We can also style the placeholder. We're coming to that. We can also style the placeholder so it will give us some very sweet feeling. So I'm not exactly sure on how we can start this date, but let's see. Input type equals to date. Type equals to date. Let's give the padding first, right? Let's give the padding of 2% and see what happens. All right. I think we are okay with the date like this, Abi. We're okay with the date. So let's go to the select. We didn't even check our select if it was working. Okay, so let's go to the select and give it a padding. I think we can use the same thing for select, right? Input type. You can just like the way we brought those divs together, you can also do the same thing here. The reason we've been typing differently is because we wanted different styles for them. Input type equals to select. So this is also going to give it a padding. You know what? It did not work here. Why? Okay. Okay, sorry. Do you know why it didn't work? Can someone tell me why that padding didn't work for the input type equals to select? You know why? Because the select is not an input type. Let's go back to the form. Do you get? Can you see it? It is not input type like this, right? So that's why it did not respond to it. So what you are supposed to do here is just to do a comma select. Do a comma select, right? It's a tag on its own. Can you see it now? It will pick it. So let's increase the width to the same width with these guys. So we have 300 pixels, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if you notice now, this what's it called? This name that we have on the side is affecting the margin. So let's bring it. Do we even need to put the name, guys? Do we need to put the name, or we should put it under it? I want it to be on the same margin.
Let's remove the name.
We should remove the name, Abi. When you see it, you already know it's a date of birth that we want there. So let's remove the name. All right. Then, all right. Okay. So it has entered the margin now. So this select does not want to enter the margin. So what we can do if we want to remove that address, because that address is looking awkward there, Abi. It's looking awkward there. If you want to remove it, you can put a value in the text area and say, please type your address here. It will automatically pick it as the default value. Yeah. But there is something wrong with text area. I'm on a discovery to know why it has a default margin. It has a default margin in it. So that's why you will see that it's starting from that place. You know, I think when I was even checking W3 schools, they couldn't find one explanation to give. They just left it like that too. So it doesn't really affect anything. It has a default margin. So let's style your checkbox, and that will be the end of our tutorials. The checkbox, right? Let's start them. Input type equals to checkbox. So the same thing, the same way we start the radio, I think we can just go and put it there. Where is it? Right?
Yeah.
Let's put it beside it. Input type equals to checkbox. All right. So when we do this, you see, so you can still give it a border radius. So let's see if we do a border radius here. I know it will not affect the radio, but it will affect that one. So let's do a border radius of 100%, and let's see. It didn't work. Border radius did not work here. It's fine. No problem. Most checkboxes are usually like this anyways. So let's leave it this way. I just wanted it to have a rounded. So, but there's something awkward though. Our text, the user registration form, and the male and female, these ones, should it be black or white?
Where? Okay, this text, right?
Yes. Should it be black or white? What do you think?
The black is okay like that. Because if you're using white, you know this white are many there. How would I see it? So I feel the black is okay like that now.
It's okay, I mean. Alright, so let's start the button.
The background color.
The background color is not making the black to look well. That's it, the thing. So
okay.
Yes, it's not making the black to look well. Actually, if you put white, it will come out well. And then we change the font family. Do you understand?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's start the button first, then we'll do that. Let's start the button.
Okay.
Let's make the button look fine. So we have two different buttons there. Input type Abi equals to button. Input type equals to what? Submit, rather, sorry. So let's first of all put a padding 2%. Alright. Then let's put a border radius of 50px. Or it's too much. 20. What's the problem? 10. All right. So let's give it a width of 100px. All right. Let's increase the width. I want it to be. All right. Okay. So let's do 150. Then let's give it a background color of black. No, let us use black. Background color of what should we use? I want a color that goes with the tomato very well.
Okay.
Okay, let's just use blue. It's a conventional color for buttons anyway. Let's just use blue. So but let me use the Bootstrap blue. The Bootstrap blue. Let me look for the blue. Let's check this one out. No, it's too deep. Alright. It's too deep. It's too deep. Too deep. Too deep. Alright. This is not Bootstrap blue. We're not getting that blue. This thing wants me to go and pick the color. I don't have strength to start picking color now. You can actually check online for that color, particularly the Bootstrap blue. Okay, let's check online. X color, X value for Bootstrap blue. At least I know Google will give us something. What is the X color of Bootstrap primary? Okay. They don't confuse me for you.
I swear down.
Okay, so let's just copy this one. This RGB here. Let's just copy this one. What's the challenge? Okay. I don't know. Let's just copy this one. Okay, this is better. This is better. No be ammo. No be ammo. Okay, let's try to tweak it a little. Let's manage it. Let's manage it so that it doesn't waste our time. So we want to do the same thing. So let's put a color. Let me see if it will work. A color white. You know what I'm trying to do now?
Yeah, the text.
Yes, the text. Okay, so it's working. So we can increase the size, right? Font size,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Font size, let's give it 30px. 30. What to put you now? 10. Oh.
Let's use 15.
Okay,
15 is okay now.
15. Okay. Then I want there to be space. What's it called? You want a space between two letters. What's the attribute again?
Space between two letters.
Is it line spacing? It's not line spacing.
What's it? Word spacing.
Word. No. Okay, wait. Let me check letter. Letter spacing. Letter spacing 1px. All right. Are we following?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so I think that too is okay, Abby. Okay, this is okay. So we do the same thing for this submit guy here. So we can just do that one is a button tag. Hope you know. That's why even though you did, even though it has button type submit, it will still not affect it because it's not an input. Do you get? So this one is a button tag. So you just pick button and style. So let's just put the same thing for button. But we can change the color so that it can give us something. All right. I can't hear any sound again. No, are we still there?
Very well, sir. Yeah.
Okay, Larry is back. So it was Larry's fan I
My
was
network
hearing.
is back.
So it was fun. It was your fan I was hearing like that. Yeah, enjoy,
Yeah.
big man. All right. So, ile yellow go. Okay, I wanted to. This is too shouty. Let's just use another shade of blue. Now, if you notice the width, Abby, because this one is 2 words, so let's increase the width a little bit. 250. All right. Now, if you notice something, no matter how much you try to do it, it will still try to adjust it to the center. All right. Let's put a margin to this checkbox. There should be a little space there. Margin 10px. Right? It's okay like this. So let's try to affect the fonts here. So what do we do? Let's give them a class. You know why I wanted to give them a class? Let me show you so that you not make that mistake. If you go here to the div, and you do color, you do white, it will affect it too. Everything will change to white. Here you can see it will affect it. But see, when you type, you will not see what. Okay, it didn't affect it. Because there was a time I did that thing, and when I typed, everything was white. So it was looking as if my form wasn't working. So I think it was the selector I picked. So this is the way the date works. Alright. Select. Okay, so when you type, so you can just affect the color. But the thing is, let's see if we can change the font family. I want something much more sweet. Font family, right? So let's use sans serif. All right, it's looking better, Abi. Looking better.
Yeah.
It's looking better. Should we make the font bigger? Should we make it bigger? Look at it.
The font is okay. The font is okay.
It's okay. All right. Okay. So we did not style the address, the text area. Let's style it. Sorry. So just like, because text area also is not an input, right? So you're just going to pick it. Just pick it this way, text area, and start, right? And let's give it how many px now? Let's give it, but let's give it a border radius of 10 px. So all right, I think there's not much we can do to it.